Good morning friends, this is Avinash Agarwal, your success guide in the journey of scoring more marks, cracking exams and achieving your goals. The topic of today's talk is very interesting. Today I am going to talk about 10 mistakes which all students make. The results of a survey said that most of the students fail or most of the students score less, not because of lack of knowledge, hard work or intelligence, but because of lack of direction, guidance and poor study techniques. It is not that the students do not have the potential, but the basic problem lies not in the potential, but inability to convert that potential into performance. So the problem is that we are not able to convert that potential into performance, and the reason is that there are some mistakes which we keep on making all throughout our preparation. So today I am going to talk about 10 mistakes which all students make. But before we get on to the mistakes, let me also highlight one important thing. The basic difference between topper and an average student is that it is not that the toppers do not make mistakes. Toppers also make mistakes, but the basic difference is that toppers realize and understand that the mistake which they have made and they ensure that they do not repeat that mistake, whereas the average students keep on repeating that mistake up month after month, month after month and month after month. And that is one of the basic reasons that why most of the average students score less marks than the toppers. So without much ado, let's go on to the theme of today's talk. 10 mistakes which all students make, and the top one, mistake number 1 in the list, is no planning. Most of the students think that planning is not important, and when I speak to them, they said that they want to go with the flow. They say that the planning doesn't make any difference, it creates problem for them. Contrary to this, whenever students say this, I ask them a question: would you go to a place or would you sit in a bus without knowing where it is going? They say no. And when I further probe them, they understand and realize that when it comes to even small things like going for a movie, they make detailed plan. कहाँ जाना है, कौन से थिएटर में जाएंगे, कौन सा शो, कौन सी सीट, इंटरवल में क्या खाएंगे, and all those kind of planning कि कैसे मिलेंगे, कैसे जाएंगे. They make very detailed plan of small activities like going for a movie. But when it comes to success in exams and success in life, everything is in air. Everything is in air. Or it is not that most of the students think planning is not important. They understand the importance of planning, and that is why they make plan of activities which they like. But they do not make plan for studies and success in life, because one is that they are afraid of failure. They are afraid of failure. The second is that they do not want to work under pressure. Third is that they always think, what will others think if I am not able to achieve what I thought I would? As somebody has rightly said, that दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा ये रोग, क्या कहेंगे लोग? But understand that planning is the foundation. Planning lays the foundation on which your entire preparation would stand. So imagine a house which is standing on a very weak foundation. Planning is the string, like when you are flying a kite. जब आप पतंग उड़ा रहे हैं, the planning is like a string which holds the kite. Imagine where would the kite go if there is no string? कटी हुई पतंग कैसे गिरती है, कहाँ गिरती है? And in the process of coming down, it gets entangled. किसी पेड़ में फंस जाती है, किसी छत पे गिर जाती है. So that is the importance of planning. In the end, I would again like to say that somebody has rightly said that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So mistake number 1 is that most of the students think planning is not important, and contrary to that, most of the toppers I have interviewed and I have interacted with, they say that planning is the foundation stone, or planning is one of the important aspects of their preparation. The second mistake which most of the students make is that they complain that they have a very poor concentration power. They complain that they have a very poor concentration power. They blame their concentration power. When I further probe them that why is that they think that their concentration power is weak, they say that they are not able to concentrate. But when I further probe them, they understand that they are able to concentrate when they are going for a movie, or they are able to concentrate when they are watching a cricket match. While watching a movie, they don't know what's happening on the left hand side and what's happening on the right hand side. But when it comes to solving numericals of physics or chemistry, even the ticking sound of a clock looks as if somebody is hammering on the head. Even 1 minute of studies looks as if we have been studying for hours together. So the basic problem, and moreover, when I further probe, we also understand that the problem of concentration is more in subjects which we don't like and less in subjects which we like. So essentially, if you see it from a different lens or from a different perspective, the problem is not of concentration, the problem is of interest. The problem is of interest. And so the key issue or the key challenge or the key problem is not how do you develop your concentration power, but how do you generate interest in a subject? And some of the basic things which you should do so as to generate interest is by approaching the subject with a patient and consistent manner. The mistake which most of the students do is that they skip the fundamental steps and approach to problem solving. You know, success and mastering the concepts and mastering the fundamentals is not about running fast. It is about running in the right direction. So the mistake which most of the students do is that they skip some of the fundamental steps and approach problem solving with half-baked knowledge, because of which they are not able to solve the problem, and slowly they develop disinterest in the subject. Just close your eyes and think. Like I spoke to a student, he said that physics is my strong subject and chemistry is my weak subject. So I asked that did you start learning physics and chemistry together? He said yes. So how come physics has become stronger and chemistry has become weaker? Because in the initial few days, he ignored chemistry and he focused more on physics. And whenever he studied chemistry with a wrong approach. So the problem is not with your concentration power, the problem is with interest in the subject. And the only way to generate interest the only way to build interest in a subject is by adopting a patient and consistent approach while learning a new concept. The third mistake which most of the students make is that they are not focused. And they get distracted very soon. And in fact, you know, as I said, as I keep telling you that I have interviewed in the last 15 years, I've interviewed hundreds of toppers of different competitive examinations. And if you'd ask me frankly, sir, tell me one word, what is the basic difference between a topper and an average student? I would say the topper is focused. I would say that the focus is one word. Focus means clarity of knowing what to do and what not to do. And when I say clarity of knowing what to do and what not to do, this involves all aspects of preparation. Which coaching to go, which coaching to not go. Which book to study, which book not to study. When to study, when not to study. And what is the right company, what is not the right company. So that is the meaning of a focused approach. And you know, one of the ways of developing focus is, you know, throwing away all the distraction. When I say distraction, I'm talking about all kind of social media handles, be it Facebook, be it Instagram, be it Telegram, you know, be it WhatsApp, be it Netflix, be it Amazon Prime, and be it games like PUBG, which has now been banned. But games like PUBG, you know, whenever you're doing PUBG, it takes your focus into an addictive mode. PUBG takes your focus into an addictive mode wherein you start reacting according to the game, and suddenly you spend 2-3 hours in the game without realizing that you've spent 2-3 hours. And by the time you are able to, you know, bring your focus back, it is too late, and you realize that you have wasted 2-3 hours. So one of the basic steps to develop focus is to throw away all the distraction. What is a distraction? I'll tell you an example. I was traveling from Pune to Delhi. My flight got delayed by 2 hours, so I was sitting in the lounge and solving an important exercise. Suddenly there was an announcement which said that, you know, flight number X, Y and Z, the gate has been changed from gate number 15 to gate number 10. I thought it was about my flight. So I listened to the announcement, you know, again, but I could not understand. So I went to watch the status of my flight on the TV screen. And by the time I came back, I was distracted. The flow of thoughts were disturbed. Now, how do I go back? The only way, you know, remember distraction and its opposite word, which is traction. Distraction and traction, both of them have one word in common, and that is action. And the only way to get rid of distraction and bring your focus back is to get into action. And what is that you do is that you go 1 or 2 steps before. For example, if you're studying and you're on step number 4 and you get distracted. So in order to bring your focus back, again start from 1 step back. Let's say start from step number 2 and 3 and again start solving the problem, and you will again come into that flow, and again that focus will come back. Another way of building focus is that consciously realizing that you are getting distracted and trying to bring that focus again and again. Remember, it was the focus of Arjun which made him the world's best archer. In order to summarize focus, you know, focus, interest, concentration, ये चीजें अपने आप नहीं डेवलप होती, इनको डेवलप करना पड़ता है, और इनको डेवलप करने के लिए आपको सारा डिस्ट्रैक्शन फेंकना है, सारे डिस्ट्रैक्शन से अपने आप को दूर करना है. The fourth mistake which most of the students make is that they run after quantity. So when I say quantity, What I mean is that, I have seen that there are many students who would be using 5 to 6 books of a single subject. Now understand that whenever you are preparing for any competitive examinations, most of the questions in most of the books are same. So if you are using 5 to 6 books of a single subject, 80 to 90% of the questions in those books are going to be same. So it doesn't make sense solving same kind of questions again and again and again and again. In fact, what makes more sense, or what is a better or an intelligent approach, is that you select 1 or 2 books, one book for learning the fundamentals and 1 or 2 books for application or for problem solving, and you focus your entire energy on those 2 to 3 books, and you solve them once, twice and repetitively. Success in competitive examination is not about running fast, it is about running in the right direction. It is not about quantity, it is about quality. It is not about solving 10,000 questions, it is about solving 1,000 questions which have been carefully selected. So always remember and understand that quality is more important than quantity, and whenever you are selecting or whenever you are finalizing the resources which you are going to study, please take help of your seniors and teachers and follow whatever are their instructions. The fifth mistake which most of the students do is that they lack consistency. Consistency means maintaining regularity in studies. I have seen a lot of students saying that I am not going to study today because I studied the entire night. At the same point of time, I have seen a lot of students, what they do is that they would study 12 hours a day and then not study at all for 2 consecutive days or for next 2 days. It doesn't make sense. That is not the right approach. In fact, what is the right approach to improve your productivity is maintaining a consistent approach. So what I'm trying to say is that consistently studying 4 hours a day is 10 times better than studying 12 hours a day and not studying anything for the next 2 days. Learning is equal to number of hours multiplied by your focus, and whenever you are studying for a higher amount of time, higher amount of duration, for example, whenever you're studying for overnight, your focus decreases over a period of time. So it doesn't make sense, and that is what I mean, that consistency is more important than intensity. And what I mean by consistency, I mean to say regularity in studies. Whenever you are adopting a consistent approach, your learning graph is moving up in a consistent manner. Day one it is here, day 2 it is here, day 3 it is here, and you keep on growing it like this. But contrary to that, whenever you are studying 12 hours a day, your learning graph goes away. Then if you don't study for next 2 hours, it goes down, and you have to again pull it up from here and then again take it back to here. So in fact, what I'm trying to say is that consistency is many times more important than intensity. In fact, one of the UPSC toppers I recently interviewed, I said him, what is your secret mantra? What is your secret of success? How could you top in a UPSC examination in first attempt? There are students who have been trying for years together and they are not able to get through. He said in one single word, the secret sauce of my success is continuity or consistency in studies. The mistake number 6, which most of the students do, is that they do not move out of their comfort zone. They do not move out of their comfort zone. What I mean by comfort zone is that, I would explain it to you in the form of a practical thing. Whenever you are solving problem, what most of the students do is that if they are not able to solve the problem, they immediately go back to the solution. Now seeing a solution without giving it your best is not going to take you anywhere. It is not that literally means that you don't want to struggle with the question, you don't want to work hard with the question, you want to approach an easy approach of seeing the solution. Contrary to this, I have seen many toppers, what they do is that if they are not able to see a solution, if they are not able to solve a question, they would never refer a solution. In fact, one of the toppers said that jaan laga dunga par solution nahi dekhunga, and what he meant was that he would solve a question. If he is not able to solve it, he would not see the solution. He would try it again, not able to solve, not see the solution. He would try it again after 1 or 2 days. If he is not able to solve the question, he will still not see the solution. He would say that every time he is not able to see the solution, he would always go and refer his fundamental book, and he will not see the solution unless and until he is giving his best. Remember, questions in competitive examinations are not difficult, they are just different, and they have a trick, they have a catch, and they have a funda. And if you are not able to, and if you are able to get hold of catch, trick and funda, you would be able to solve it. And for you to solve the questions, what is extremely important is that how do you approach or how do you attack the question. And in order to develop your approach and attacking the question in the right manner, you need to spend some time struggling with the question. And always remember that whenever you're struggling with the question, even if you're spending 30 minutes, 45 minutes or 1 hour, that time is not getting wasted. That time is getting invested, your problem solving skills are moving to another level, and you are moving yourself out of comfort zone. What I also mean when I say that, toppers move out of the comfort zone and, average student always stays in his comfort zone, I also meant that most of the average student, they will keep on solving question after question, but most of the questions are similar kind of questions in nature. Whereas a topper usually, he has a graded approach. He doesn't solve too many questions, but he solves question, gradually improves the difficulty level of the questions because he wants to move out. He wants to move out of comfort zone. Mistake number 7, which most of the students make, is that they have a half-hearted approach towards studying, or they have a shallow approach towards studying. Or in other words, what I mean in other words is that they are not committed and they don't give their 100% while they're studying. Now, some of the examples of doing a shallow work, or some of the examples of lack of commitment, can be sitting in a class, taking notes and not understanding the concept, assuming that I will understand it when I go back to the home. Solving a maths question without having a pen in his hand. Solving a physics or chemistry question lying on the bed. Studying in a place which is surrounded by a lot of relatives is an example of shallow approach. Seeing solutions without giving your best is an example of shallow approach. Sitting in the class passively and listening to what is happening is a shallow approach. An active approach is asking questions continuously. Watching TV and studying is a shallow approach. Remember, toppers are not working hard. Toppers are studying probably as much as you are, or probably less than you, but their quality of study, they are committed to give their 100% whenever they are studying, and that is what actually makes a difference. One of the toppers I recently interviewed, he said that he used to study 5 to 6 hours a day, and he said that every week he used to watch a movie. So it is not at all about studying hard. It is not about studying 14 to 16 hours a day. It is about studying 5 to 6 hours consistently, and whenever you are studying 5 to 6 hours, giving nothing but your 100%. That is what actually is the difference between a topper and an average student. Mistake number 8, which most of the students make, is that they ignore self-study. Most of the students become too much dependent upon school, coaching, friends, books, and in this entire process they ignore self-study, which is the very, very important part of every preparation, and in fact which is the secret ingredient behind the success story of each and every topper. I spoke to a student, he said me, "Sir, I go to a school, I come back from the school at 2 p.m. and after that I have 3 hours of coaching. I don't have any time for self-study. What is that I should do?" I said, "Cut down your coaching hours by 1 hour and increase your self-study by 2 to 3 hours. Remember, if you are not doing self-study, whichever coaching you go to, whichever teacher you teach, whichever teacher is teaching you, whichever school you are going to, it would not make any difference. Self-study is the key to learning. Self-study is the time wherein you actually get into active mode of learning, wherein you are actually independently analyzing, absorbing, and thinking about whatever you have learned or whatever has been taught to you throughout the day in the entire class. Remember, even if your Sachin Tendulkar is your coach, unless and until your coaching is backed up by hours and hours of net practice, you will never be able to become a perfect cricketer. In fact, the thumb rule is that your self-study hours should at least be equivalent to your number of coaching hours. Mistake number 9, which most of the students make, is that they run after learning more and more concepts and postpone revision, and this point becomes very important when you're coming close to the examination. Remember, when you are 2-3 months away from your examination, revision plays a very important role, because as somebody has rightly said, that it is not important that whether you know a question or not, it is not important that whether you can solve a question or not, but what is actually important is that can you solve it faster than others or not. And for you to solve the question in shortest possible time, things have to be absolutely fresh, live in your mind, and for that revision is very important. In fact, this is what I keep on advising these students. This is the biggest mistake which most of the students make, is that when you are entering the last phase of your preparation, always remember your success and failure is dependent upon what you know and not dependent upon what you do not know. So it makes perfect sense. It makes all the sense to consolidate, to revise, to recapitulate whatever you have learned in the last 7 to 8 months of your preparation, rather than trying to learn new things and rather than trying to solve more and more questions. So this is another area wherein most of the students go wrong, is that instead of consolidating the knowledge, or instead of focusing on revision till the last moment, they keep on running after new questions, new concepts, new lessons, new funda, new books, and in the process they are not able to revise things properly, and in the process the net result is that in the examination they see many questions which they have done in their preparation, but they are not able to solve it because they have not been able to revise them properly. Remember, revision is one of the very, very important aspect of your preparation. Mistake number 10, which most of the students do, is that they do not produce practicing output. See, whenever you're studying for any competitive examination, you're giving input in terms of hard work, input in terms of number of hours you're studying. But your success and failure is not dependent upon what input you are given. Your success and failure is dependent upon what output you are able to produce in the examination hall. And for you to produce output, you have to practice producing output. I have seen hundreds and thousands of students in my life wherein most of the students score less, not because they do not know, but because they are not able to solve the question in examination condition and temperament. Developing examination temperament and producing output is one of the very, very important aspects of the preparation, and this becomes extremely important when you are in the last phase of your preparation. So in order to practice output, you can close your eyes and prepare the mind map of the entire chapter. You can throw the solution book and start solving questions on your own. You can teach a particular lesson to your friend. You can write as many mock tests as possible. The idea of producing output is that if you do not have any external help, and whatever is lying inside you, you have to bring that out, and that too under examination pressure, or that too under time pressure and constraint. That is the meaning of producing output. Producing output is extremely part of the preparation, and in the last phase, that means when you are 1 or 2 months away from your final examination, you should focus on producing output. Now, I would like to give you one bonus tip, and this bonus tip is also extremely important, and this is also one of the biggest mistakes which most of the students do, is that they do not do post-test analysis. Now most of the students, now we all understand that testing becomes very important, especially when we are in the last phase of our preparation. But the mistake which most of the students do is that they would write many tests, but they do not spend time in post-test analysis. Remember, a test without post-test analysis is not a test. It is just like any other question bank. Unless and until a test is telling you where you are, where you have to be, what is the gap, which subject the gap is maximum, and how exactly, what exactly you should do so as to cover up that gap, it is not serving its purpose. So post-test analysis is extremely important. In fact, what I advise the students, and what I have seen many toppers doing this, is that, they give a test, they write a test for 3 hours, then they spend at least 2 hours in doing post-test analysis. And why look only at toppers? You look at any sport, I mean, say any cricket match. Whenever any team loses a match or wins a match, they analyze it ball by ball, over by over, and minute by minute. Post-test analysis is an extremely important part, and this is the place again where most of the students go wrong. In the end, I would like to summarize this talk just by saying that most of the students blame the external factors, whereas toppers take the responsibility and own the responsibility. I have seen many students blaming, my coaching is not good, my teacher is not good, my atmosphere is not good, I did not get this, I did not get that. Whereas on contrary to this, toppers own the responsibility, and before demanding excellence from outside, toppers first of all demand excellence within. So one of the basic difference between a topper and an average student is that an average student is always demanding excellence from outside, but he's not committed to giving excellence from inside. And contrary to that, a topper is always committed to giving excellence from inside, and only then he demands excellence from outside. So that's it for the day. Thanks a lot. I hope it would make sense. I would again reiterate that the basic difference between topper and an average student is that it is not that toppers do not make mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes, but the only thing is that once they make these mistakes, they understand, realize the mistake, and they ensure that they do not make the mistake again. Contrary to this, most of the other students, they understand that they have made the mistake, but they keep on repeating the same mistakes. To learn more tips and techniques to give boost to your preparation, you can read my book, Toppers Study Hack. This book is based upon the success story of more than 100 toppers whom I have interviewed in the last 15 years. This book has got a lot of tips and techniques which have the capability to make difference in your preparation in a short period of time.